Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In my analysis and my assessments, my commentary of current events, I take into consideration this scenario. And the scenario is we have some fanatics, some zealots, some fanatics who really welcome an end to the world. Because by this kind of final showdown between the good and the evil, something will happen according to some writings. Therefore, they see signs that will inevitably lead us into the goal of going somewhere else and sing songs. And some of us going somewhere else having a hot tub experience. There are people who believe in this 100%. I rubbed shoulders and elbows with them when I was in a search of, and I still am, in a search of knowledge. So I like to get involved and experience things. So I've been involved in this kind of operations and organizations that are still doing very well. So when you hear people here, for instance, in the Ukraine garbage that occurs over there, that we should do this to Russia, we should do that to Russia. Actions have consequences. And I think those guys and other guys from behind realize that by employing those kinds of actions directed towards Russia will inevitably trigger Russia's reaction, could be the moment where the forces of evil, in this case the Russian forces, will retaliate with nuclear weapons against someone else. Therefore, the someone else, the good side of the equation, will react with its nuclear weapons, and therefore we're going to have the Armageddon. And after the Armageddon, we have peaceful, loving together, as I said, some over there, some of us going somewhere else. So, with all that being said, I will give you one example here, or one that could be interpreted as such. As I said, these guys really want, some of them want to reach that point. It seems like they are working towards the destruction of this planet, or at least the destruction of what they think will be just a little war, and then someone is going to come and will provide justice for all, like Metallica's 1989, whatever, no, what was that, 1986, what was it, Justice for All, the album. So let me show you this article. This comes from Ukrainska Pravda, and it is from Wednesday, March 27, 2024. The world can end Russia's aggression by depriving it of oil revenues. Do you remember what Japan did after the government of the United States of America told Japan that it cannot do business in South Asia? Remember? When they told them, no, you can't go and get raw materials from them. No, you can't do that. It's like, I will tell you, you can't go and buy groceries anywhere. But you have children. What will you do? Well, your children might be starving. You will be starving. So you're definitely going to kick me in my balls, wouldn't you? Or you're going to be dying like a weasel. Or you're going to be my slave, because I will definitely be in control of your resources. Therefore, you have to suck my thing in order for me to give you some, So when these guys say, well, depriving it of oil revenues, what do you think that means? That means Russia will not have money, the economy is going to go down, the situation, the economic, the social situation in Russia will depreciate, will go bad and bad. And what would people do? It's going to be easier for the same guys, to foment certain spontaneous uprisings in Russia. Therefore, challenge the status quo and challenge the government, challenge the Russia's cohesions, if you want. So that is a threat to the Russian state. So what is Russia's nuclear weapons use doctrine? Exactly that. So is it possible that the Russians say, if you do that, you're going to affect our statehood? Therefore, that's an attack on Russia itself, an attack on its existence. Therefore, under the policy, the doctrine, we can use nuclear weapons. And what do you think they will do? Since we know Putin is crazy, he's a madman, but somehow he knows reality and he knows consequences. So he's not doing crazy stuff that he could have done in the 25th of February 2022, which is end the war right there, but he didn't. So that tells me, at least, that he's not as crazy as these imbeciles are telling us. Good versus evil. Let me show you further on this article. So the tectonic shifts that determine the fate of humanity often seem to us to happen suddenly. But that's not true. They are usually just the result of previous events. Okay, like Putin's aggression against Ukraine or the collapse of the USSR. Okay, we're going to go down here at the bottom where I think it would be, it said direct oil and gas revenues never made up more than 10 to 11% of the USSR budget. But in Russia in 2011 to 2014, they exceeded 50%. And what do we have here? In recent years, oil and gas have accounted for 60% of Russia's total exports of goods and 40% of the federal government's revenues. So if you do what you say you want to do, the Russian government will have 40% less money to give the population and to do business. That means the Russian state will collapse. And we have here nuclear weapons in Russian military doctrine. According to a Russian military doctrine stated in 2010, nuclear weapons could be used by Russia, and I'm quoting here, in response to use of nuclear and other types of weapons of mass destruction against it or its allies, and also in case of aggression against Russia with the use of conventional weapons when the very existence of the state is threatened. Well, you can say, well, it's just if they use aggression and conventional weapons. When the point here is this, the very existence of the state is threatened. So do you think that by depriving Russia of that, is not going to be the very existence of the Russian state being threatened? I mean, you may say, well, that's a far-fetched thing. I don't think it is. And I tell you why. Because of that strata or that group in our society that really believes that is about to happen. I've been among them. I've been. And I remember sitting down there and I was about to say the person over there saying, there's signs. The signs are everywhere. The end of the world is here. Look what's going on in the Middle East. Israel is being encircled by its enemies. The hurricanes are more often, more and stronger. The climate change nowadays. Oh my God, all these point to the signs. There are some crazy people everywhere, in every kind of group, because you got, a spectrum. You got the people in the middle, you're going to have extremes, left, right, and so on. So I think, go ahead, the world, stop the Russians having, 40% of their federal government's revenues gone. And what do you think the Russians will do? In Romania, in the communist Romania, socialist Romania, in 1989, there was a revolution. Revolution, not because it was a spontaneous revolution. I don't think it was a spontaneous revolution. It just got triggered by certain, how do you call it? Central Intelligence agencies, and Ceausescu warned us. He said on the TV, certain agenturile străine foreign agencies are working. He was right, but nobody believed him. Why? Because we hated him. We hated the system. We hated the life that we were living. So if our standard of living was so low, it was very easy to just, like a dry, how do you call that? Piece of hay or grass. We're gonna ignite immediately. So that's what happened in 1989 in Romania. They were activated, plus traitors very high in the Romanian government. Like, for instance, Stănculescu, Victor Stănculescu. He was on MI6. I'm not saying that. He was on MI6. Go and read. MI6 is not the Romanian intelligence services, as far as I remember, and so on. And it was not the only one. So this was an organized thing, revolution, on the structure, on the dissatisfaction of most of the population of a country. Now, if these guys are going to do that to the Russians, and the Russia will not have food, electricity, and other stuff, it's going to be easier for these guys just to push the buttons and organize a spontaneous uprising. And if they do that, they will take over the government. They will take over Russia, like Maidan 2014, organized by a spontaneous uprising. Could have been a spontaneous uprising, which I don't think. When you have how should I put it? A mass of people, like for instance in Israel right now, I don't think that's spontaneous whatsoever. I think that's organized by bigger interest. I personally don't care what's going on. I don't want to hear about that. But I'm just telling you, Netanyahu is not just upset a few people and they showed up. There were some buttons pushed. That's organized day and night and day and night. People have to go to work. People have to take care of their own life. No, they're going over there. For what? Anyway, my friends, be careful. These guys, and I said this before, they are going to push the Russians. They are going to push the Russians in a direction they want to go. Some of them want to go. When or if the Russians will decide to use nuclear weapons, which I hope they will not use them, this is the way it's going to work. When the Russians are going to do it, the Russians first are going to tell them, guys, a deadline, that's it, and then you're going to have the same guys, the same forces who say, wait a minute, and yeah, guys, oh my, that's a sign, let's move on. Yeah, it's evil right there, we should eradicate evil. Some people's should kick in, the self-preservation instinct should kick into all of us at one point and say, wait a minute, we're going too far. Yeah, that could be true, but still, I have children. But we're all gonna go, and it's a fight that might go in some people's heart, mind. However, my point is, these guys will have more to lose than the Russians. There's not going to be an atomic war as long as the idiots are not in charge of that. If the idiots will be in charge, then we're all going to be gone. But if not the idiots, which is these guys who are the fake promoters of good and we are the democracy and freedom, if they get to that point, they will back down. Why? They have more to lose than the other guys. Do you think these guys who have a lot of money, a lot of influence, their families are all set, generation after generation, do you think these guys want to lose because they have some crazies? No, they don't want to lose everything. They worked hard. Their families worked hard, generations after generations. Why do you think a banker, let's say, would want I'm talking about a certain kind of banker, starts with an R. Why do you think that family would want to see the end of the world? That's not what's written. They will have to suck or eat the fat of nations. So what are you talking about? They're doing it right now. Anyway, so who's they? I don't know. I'm just giving you scenarios. So again, you're gonna have these guys gonna realize, wait, we're pushing too far. We push this guy. Let's talk about it. And that's what probably going to happen. I hope the Russians will not do it, and unless they're really threatened, their existence is threatened. First, I don't think they want to allow this action to become, from now on, the most evil act in the world's history besides the Second World War. Okay, because these guys want to cover their trail, which is the atomic bombs. Remember, that's only one country who dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian cities. Now, if the Russians will do something like that, that will be all, oh, that was just a fluke. There was nothing. This is what is the biggest one. It's a terrorist. Blah, blah, blah. So the Russians don't want to be taking that medal out of those guys' criminal, I think, necks, because however you look at it, that was a war crime. I mean, if the Russians will use the same justification, in the name of saving our boys' lives and stopping this war faster, and we're going to do this guy's going to say, what are you talking about? Well, I'm going to use the same reasoning you used. Yeah, but we were good and you were bad. See, we get the same, they go there, we go here. Thank you very much for being with me again today. So I'm pretty sure there's some smart people over there who will not allow that to happen, or they will probably want to push it as far as they can until the Russians will warn them, give them a deadline and say, that's it, that's a red line. And the Russians are consistent in their actions. That is good or bad. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.